All right, well, good morning again, parents. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. We are here to present on the 7th grade English Language Arts curriculum called Savas. So we are all dedicated to ensuring that your child has everything that they need to be successful at school and in life. So we want to talk about just some of the expectations, things that you can expect your child to experience in ELA classrooms in Mobile County Public Schools.
All right, so to start off today, we are just going over our agenda. We're going to go over some introductions, again, hitting that curriculum for ELA. We are going to be doing a mock lesson, showing you what your student could potentially or will be doing in your 7th grade classroom. We will be just reviewing and doing a Q&A at the end as well. So to introduce ourselves, I am Alex Lindsay. I'm a 7th grade teacher at Sims Middle School.
My name is Ryan Kane. I teach 7th grade English Language Arts at Burns Middle School.
My name is Keisha Martin. I teach 7th grade ELA at Booker T. Washington Middle School.
My name is Jennifer Sheedy. I teach ELA 7th grade at Grand Bay Middle School.
I'm Kelsey Pickens. I teach 7th grade ELA at Burns Middle School.
I'm Miranda Stedden. I teach 7th grade ELA at Sims Middle School.
Awesome.
So for a quick unit overview, there are 4 quarters, and so our curriculum is split into 4 different sections. So Unit 1, which is where we're going to be taking our mock lesson from today, the one that we'll go over with you all, is the theme is generations, intergenerational. And each unit comes with an essential question to kind of guide students' reading and research throughout the unit. So the essential question in Unit 1 is, what can one generation learn from another one? In Unit 2, the theme is A Starry Home, which is, a fun little sci-fi theme talking about possibility of exploring life on other planets or eventually colonizing other planets. It's pretty cool. But the essential question is, should we make a home in space? Unit 3 is called Turning Points. What can cause a sudden change in someone's life? And then Unit 4 is People and the Planet. So the essential question there is, what effects do people have on the planet?
So each quarter that you see here gets kind of broken up into different learning strategies. So we usually start with whole group, moving on to small group, and then students have the opportunity to do a lot of individualized learning as well. The most important thing probably up here is those performance-based assessments, or PBAs. We have 2 of those a quarter, a unit. One is typically a essay, and then another is a test at the end of the quarter. With that unit reflection. So you can see here that we are working on comprehension, vocabulary, analyzing text, and also grammar and conventions are really important in 7th grade curriculum. And you'll see that 6th, 7th, 8th until high school. Those are all concepts that continually we cover with our curriculum.
And one thing, I guess, just before we go away from the slide, one thing that I personally as a teacher really like about the Savas curriculum and how they break it up is we showed you those essential questions on the previous slide. Well, when you're doing research, you usually start off with a question, and then as you continue reading and researching, sometimes your information gets refined and your question changes slightly. So in the whole group segment of our quarter, there is a question that is slightly worded differently from the overall question about, for instance, what can one generation learn from another? So in the whole group section, when it's the whole class and the teacher, kind of a traditional style of classroom, the question looks one way. And then when it's in small groups where students are discussing with each other, they kind of think about a slightly different dimension of that, and they begin to research that topic from different angles. And then when you get to independent learning, when they get to that essay that they're writing, it focuses even more. So it's all building towards preparing them, equipping them to effectively express themselves and communicate a very specific idea. It's really cool, and it's a lot how research works.
Similar to Schoology, our textbook is 100% online. We are going to be showing you today how to get there. Students can access this at home, and we also use it at school. So we're going to show you in a moment, but this is how you get to our textbook online. It's called Savas. You go to Mobile County Public Schools website, you click on Students and Family. After that, you click on Clever. Clever is the mega house of how you get to a lot of our applications that we use in education in the classroom. Click on Savas or Savas, however you'd like to say it. How did you say it? Somebody said it different. Savas. There's multiple ways that we say it. It's all the same thing. And there, the student can access the textbook through Savas Realize. You can also find additional resources in there. It is a great, huge, big website full of information for your student to deepen their knowledge and their comprehension. So just in a couple moments, we're going to go over how to get there.
If you'd like to take a photograph of that,
Absolutely.
that one, it would be a good one to have.
So when your students tell you they don't know how to do it, you know how to do it. Beautiful. All right, so we're actually going to step into our mock lesson here in a moment. Today we're going to be focusing on a lesson that your student will do in Q1. So actually in a couple weeks we're going to be doing this lesson in the classroom. It is from the story of An Invisible Thread by Laura Scroff and Alex, I think it's Trzynski or something like that, Tranowski. And again, it's centering back to our essential question of what can one generation learn from another? And you're going to see that essential question pop up a lot today. Your students are going to see it pop up a lot in the quarter. We were discussing earlier that it would be a great conversation to have with your students at home, talking about generations that came before you and who's going to come after you and what can we learn from one another.
So each of our lessons obviously aligns with the state standards. We teach the standards to your children. These are the goals that we have for your child so that we can measure and know that what we're doing in the classroom actually prepares them for life. The stories are good. I like pretty much all the stories that we have, but really we're trying to make sure that they have these skills that will help them to be successful no matter where they go. And so we chose for our lesson that we're going to go over with you all today, one of those standards that applies with this lesson. So we're looking at determine word meaning through the use of word parts, context clues, connotation, and denotation. We're using print and digital reference tools. So our diagnostic testing in the county shows that students struggle with content vocabulary and using context clues to understand what they read. Students in the 7th grade work on understanding tone, etymology, which are those, the history of a word, word parts, prefixes and suffixes. Today you will practice similar skills that will be taught this year in your child's language arts classroom.
I would say this standard is one that gets hit the most on a almost weekly basis with the curriculum. We're really focusing on vocabulary and words. So there's a couple tasks that your students will complete before we even start reading. One of the first things we do is this chart. This is what your textbook looks like. This is one of the first pages that they'll see for each story. And what we usually do is this concept vocabulary chart. So what it says in the directions is before reading, note how familiar you are with the word, then rank the words in order from most familiar to least familiar. Typically, we have students do this. We raise our hand and say, okay, which word do you know the best? And it makes them feel, a little bit better because they know that they've heard of generosity, to be generous before. So usually that's, the first ranking, they know that one, and then they go from there. And it helps us know what we should hit more. In my opinion, that's what I do. So, class, which word do you know the least? Who wants to be brave and tell us which word they know the least? There's resilience, perseverance, and generosity.
Your least familiar word.
Resilience, right? We don't know exactly what resilience means, and that's okay because today we're going to learn what that means, and then we can use it in our own vocabulary. So this is a practice that we do with students pretty regularly. Another thing we do before we read is we cover the background and also the information about the author, so students have some background knowledge before we just throw them into reading a brand new story. So our background today says Laura Scroff and Maurice Macek have been friends for 15 years when he gave the final toast at the celebration of her 50th birthday. Maurice's words and Laura's reaction to them reveal what each had gained from their long friendship. Sometimes we show videos, we show interviews, to get some background knowledge for students, because they don't know who these two people are, but by the end of the week, they'll know these people pretty well. Before we read, we are going to show you how to get on Savas, how to get on the textbook. So I'm going to have Mr. Kane take that away.
Is it all right for me to be at this?
Okay.
So I will say there are several clicks, and one of the great things about Savas is it has a ton of resources that a lot of times students or teachers will assign to their students specific activities on the web platform. But if you are a parent at home and you know that your child learns a certain way, you might explore the online textbook and find some things that can help them in there. So there's a lot of clicks, but we're going to guide you through how to get there. So using the slide we had earlier as a guide, you can go to Students and Families. You have Clever Sign In. So if you're not 100% familiar, Clever is just kind of a landing space that we have that has all of the apps that are used in the classroom. There's a ton of resources, and teachers usually choose which ones that they are going to be using throughout the year in the classroom, and they'll communicate that to your child. It'll be posted on Schoology, or if you're ever curious, you could maybe ask your child's teacher, hey, my child has said this, I don't know what they're talking about, what's iReady, something like that. But all the apps will be found on Clever. So we're going to look, and if we scroll down, you can see this app is called Savas Easy Bridge, but it's got the name of our curriculum, Savas.
You cross your fingers that the Wi-Fi works. It's part of it too.
So some of these things you'll have a couple of options here on the right. What you're looking for to get to the textbook is called Savas Realize. Savas Realize. So on this page, it looks a little different than my teacher view, so I'm also kind of going through with you guys. But there at the bottom where it says Savas Realize, we'll click there.
On the student view as well, it will have their class that they're enrolled in by that point, so you'll be able to see your student's teacher's name and maybe if there's assignments on there.
Sometimes it does take a minute for it to load.
Because it's got lots of stuff.
So here it's showing the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade textbook, but where it says grade 7, that's where you'll click. And I know there was one parent that was saying that they have a child in 7th and a child in 8th grade, so 8th grade, if you're looking for that one. So a lot of clicks to get to where you want to go, but it becomes second nature if you go through a few times. On the left-hand side of the screen, it has a column with all the table of contents, and it's broken down by unit. So all of the texts for Unit 1 are here, Unit 2, Unit 3, and Unit 4. And all of the materials are all going to be broken apart by chapter or by unit. So to get to our story today, we're going to go to Unit 1. And we find our text called An Invisible Thread. So, like I said, there are a lot of resources with each text, a PDF version, audio summary if your child needs to hear different things if they learn better that way. But for right now, we're just going to go to just the text and show you. All of the texts also have a full audio version of the story. So some of our students will say that they find it easier to follow along if they listen while they're reading. So we try to do that in the classroom, and obviously, I like reading aloud. I get very theatrical. It's fun. So I'm reading aloud in the classroom, but I don't know. I guess some of your kids get bored with my voice. Who knows? I can't imagine, but But all of the texts have an audio version that if they're at home and they're studying, they want to review a text, if they are that child that they do better hearing while they read, there's an audio for each text. And so we're going to play a little bit of that for you today so that you kind of get a sample of what that's like as well.
I was going to say, it's also really good if the child has been absent from school, for them to be able to go back and listen to the story that's right there and available for them. They don't necessarily have to read it themselves.
And the texts are really good. So maybe you'll want to just, log on to your kid's Savas account, and while you're jogging in the evenings, you'll want to listen to An Invisible Thread. My father-in-law read the whole book this summer. He says it's very good. But right now, for our lesson, we passed out copies of the full text. So what we want to do for you all is we're going to play the first 2 minutes so that you can kind of hear the audio version and see what that's like. And then we want you all at your tables in your groups to finish the remaining part of the text. So we'll play 2 minutes of the audio, and then we'll give you guys a few minutes to finish reading the remainder of the text independently or with others at your tables. Sound good? Awesome.
Woo! Oh, I might have turned my volume down.
Uh-huh.
I didn't want to scare anybody.
I'll let you go.
Oh, you know what you need to do?
That helps.
Plug it in. All right.
From An Invisible Thread, Laura Schroff and Alex Tresnowski. Memoir. Background. Laura Schroff and Maurice Mazick had been friends for 15 years when he gave the final toast at the celebration of his 50th birthday. Maurice's words and Laura's reaction to them reveal what each had gained from their long friendship. About the authors. Laura Schroff had a career in advertising sales for more than 30 years and helped launch USA Today and several other highly successful publications. She is now a motivational speaker and encourages people to make a difference in the lives of others. Alex Tresnowski is a writer based in New York City. He has been a senior writer for People magazine, writing human interest, crime, and sports articles, and he is the co-author of several books, including An Invisible Thread and The Vendetta. From An Invisible Thread, Laura Schroff and Alex Tresnowski.
So now we'll start.
Then came the final toast. The speaker was in a sharp black tuxedo with spectacular black and white shoes, and his wife was in a stunning navy blue gown, her hair swept up. Nearly everyone in the room had met him, or at least knew his story, and so everyone was excited to see him and hear him speak. He kissed his wife, walked up, and took the microphone, and began his toast. "Lori, where can I start?" Maurice began. The way we met was so special to me. I was a young boy on the street with barely nothing, and I was very hungry that day. And I asked this lady, "Miss, can you spare some change?" And she walked away, and then she stopped. She was in the middle of the street, she almost got hit, and she looked and came back and took me to McDonald's. We ate, and then walked around Central Park. She took me to Haagen-Dazs, and then we played some games. At that moment, she saved my life. Because I was going down the wrong road, the wrong hill. And my mother, bless her soul, my mother died. And she was on drugs at the time. And the Lord sent me an angel. And my angel was Lori. "Without you," Maurice said, raising his glass, "I could not be the man I am today."
So as you can see, the audio does a pretty good job of adding some personality. It's not just Siri or whatever reading it to you. So what we're going to ask you to do now is finish reading this story, this excerpt from An Invisible Thread. And while you read, I want you to notice the general ideas of the text and what it's about, who's involved. And if you want to, annotate those words that you don't know or that we're going to learn together, those vocabulary words. And then connect ideas that you already know and what you already have read. Okay, I'm going to give you 3 minutes to finish reading this, I think. All right, so just a sneak peek to understand what a general day would look like. Typically, students are reading these stories either, again, in a large group or in a small group. A lot of times we might turn with our neighbor and read with them out loud because practicing reading out loud is awesome. Teachers lead discussions, and after we usually have a comprehension check. Sometimes that looks like questions in the book and we answer them out loud. Sometimes that's answering it on paper and turning it in for a grade. And then teachers will conduct a close read. If you look at the very first page of your story from An Invisible Thread, there is those close read questions. And usually those are breaking down concepts that we want your student to kind of further their thinking, further their knowledge. And that's typically what's going to show up on their test or what's going to show up later on ACAP. It's digging deep, okay? So those close read questions are usually teacher-led. And usually we have a discussion in our class with those close read questions. Anything we want to add, teacher friends?
I will say, some of you might have noticed that in the margin, it had our concept vocabulary with the definitions. So if your child is, because I've had it happen where we do that first activity, rank, the words you want, the best, and they'll raise their hand, they'll be really timid, and they're just like, I don't know any of these words, and they, it can be kind of discouraging, and so it's just like, that's okay. Put 3 on all of them. They're all the least familiar, but we're going to work on it. We're going to learn. But what we want to do throughout the unit is progressively build some of that rigor and to challenge students to build those skills for using context clues to determine meaning. So when we're in the first phase of every unit in the whole group instruction, it'll have the definition. It just tells them, if you don't know what resilience means, here it is. As you get closer in the small group, it'll have those terms, and then it'll give you some ideas of how maybe you could figure it out. Like it'll say, look at this line. How is the word used in this sentence? Can you figure out what that word means by looking at the way it's used? As you get to independent learning, it may just have the word, and it'll just kind of let the student know, okay, that concept vocabulary word we told you to look out for, it's like in this paragraph. It's around this area. So it's progressively building that, okay, at the beginning we're telling you this is what the word means, and as a whole group the teacher will look at that and do the close read. In the small group we're going to facilitate students doing that together in a group on their own, but we'll kind of come around and talk to them. In independent learning it'll be more practice of your child with the text, trying to apply those skills.
One of the things that I've found is when my students get to a word that they don't know, it derails them just about completely. And so because I don't know that word, I don't understand the whole passage. And so we're trying to teach them, find the context clues, or if you don't know that word, maybe write it down to the side. We'll talk about it at the end, because there may be other words besides these 3 words in the passage that they don't know well, and they can ask about those words. But this is equipping them to use those context clues to try to figure out what the word might mean.
And we also use a lot of annotating in our classroom. We didn't go over here on the slide, but we ask them to circle the words that they don't know so we can go back.
Correct.
Put a question mark next to things they have questions about, so that we know to go back to it and check it out again.
What we love about this book and the curriculum is that each child gets their own textbook. You might have seen that in 6th grade. They have consumables, so they can write and they can keep this book close to them, and they can go back and look at their notes at the beginning of the year. My students loved tearing up the book and writing in it. That felt almost illegal to them, that their textbook was writable. But you can see on the side, our books have lots of margins for notes on the side. So students definitely will need like a highlighter to use this textbook. Now, we're going to run out of time, so we don't have a lot of time for this, but you got a worksheet that looks similar to this. This is pretty typical for learning new vocabulary words. There is space for students to draw a picture that helps them with their memory of that word, as well as writing down the definition and then creating a new sentence using that word. The reason that we have them do this is different memory clues. Drawing pictures help them remember, but also the skill of creating a new sentence with a new word is showing mastery. It's showing that we can actually use this word in our vocabulary, in our everyday speech.
And the goal by the end of the unit is for them to use these words in their writing when they do their final performance based assessment.
Yes, it is to use in their essay later. Perfect. Okay. Before we leave, we just wanted to give you can take a picture of this too. This might be helpful. These are great different activities, websites, and books that will help your student with language arts specifically. So through Clever, again, Clever has everything almost. We have iReady, typing.com, again, the textbook Savas. Khan Academy is a great visual video tool. They have videos on almost everything at this point. And then Sora is a way for you to check out books online, I believe. Mm-hmm. We love Newsela at MCPSS. We love Edpuzzle. And then checking out books at the library, either at your school or the public library, I always recommend that. And again, having discussions about your essential question at the dinner table or when you're in the car about, hey, what do you think you learned from people older than you that are a different generation?
Now, I was told that this book, 180 Days
Yes.
of Reading for 7th grade, should be in your little goodie bag at your seats. So those just have little exercises, very short readings. Some of them are kind of literary, others are more nonfiction, or I suppose kind of more scientific or in the STEM fields. So just practicing reading skills of all kinds. So that's something that you can take home that we're giving you, that if you want to, you can run some extra drills with your child if you think they really, really need something and you're just like, I want to know what I can do at home. Teachers, we're going to do everything we can and we want to partner with you. Like I said at the top, I think I can speak for everybody that we really want to see your child equipped with everything they need to be successful in our classrooms and just in life outside of school. So if there's something that you're just like, I want to do more, I want to be that extra parent that just really digs in, this is a pretty good resource. And,
Great test prep.
And since they gave me a microphone, I guess I'll just also say this last tip for me is really important because like we were saying earlier, 7th grade is kind of that year where kids are just like, school, you know, when am I ever going to use this? And I always say that that's like the main goal of my classroom is to try. The kids are kids, they might not be persuaded, but every lesson should answer that question. When am I going to use this? Why does this matter? But if you help with your child at home, tell them about, okay, you might not write a 5-paragraph essay for whatever job you might do in your future, but needing to communicate. You need to be able to understand different perspectives and other people. Those sorts of things are important. So I think those essential questions are a great way to have a conversation with your child and get them talking about and thinking about what they're doing at school in a pretty natural way. We did a little lesson at Burns where we gave kids a separate project where we're like, okay, we want you to pick an older relative, auntie, grandma, whoever, and just go and have a conversation with them and then talk about what can I learn from that person. And even if it's not school kind of thing, there's a real practicality to understanding what I can learn from those who are older than I am and what persons who are older than us can sometimes learn from the younger generation. That, it kind of builds up that community, which is very important just in general. So I just want to hit that one because, like I said, they gave me a microphone.
No, each unit's essential question is discussionable.
Yes.
What we found each unit is that 7th graders want to talk. If you let them talk about what they want to talk about, they can answer this question on their own. And it's fun for you as a parent to be able to discuss something other than what the soccer schedule looks like. Are there any questions for the 7th grade ELA crew? Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for being here today. We really appreciate your dedication and attention to your student and your child. It means a lot to us as teachers that parents are here to support their students as well. Thank you.
For real. Thank you.
All right. I'm out of here. Done.